Hi guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. So in today's video we are going to be I'm going to be telling you the story of how my fiance and I met. So my fiance and I, we met, it was kind of like random. I had just gotten out of a on and off 5-year relationship, very toxic. I had just moved out, so I was reconnecting with my best friend. Not necessarily reconnecting, but like we started hanging out outside of high school. So we were hanging out together, and when we met, it was April 2020. And when we met, I was hanging out with my best friend and her cousin. We were at this like boat ramp place where we lived, or in the town that we lived in. It was a well-known area, I guess, but it was kind of hidden. People wouldn't know that area unless they were specifically searching for that area. It was kind of hidden, unless you obviously had a boat, then you knew where it was. So we were at these boat ramps. It was probably, we were there like all day. Me and my best friend and her cousin, we would hang out in the car, just enjoy the nice weather, basically, because, you know, we were constantly cooped up inside the house. And my best friend and I, we hung out for the entire day. I don't even remember what time we started hanging out, probably like mid-afternoon. And so we were hanging out, and it got late, it got dark. We were there until, I think it was like 1 a.m. that this happened. And so we were just hanging out. We ended up actually moving spots, and we went to another spot in the boat ramp. There's like, it's just like this giant parking lot essentially, and there's like a boat launch ramp. And don't mind the scratch, my cat scratched me. And there's Duncan. So we had moved into like an area, there was kind of like land blocking it. So when people were pulling in, they couldn't see us. We were tucked away behind like land, and these people pulled up, and it's like 1 a.m. But these people pulled up and they started doing donuts in the parking lot, and we're like, what the heck? Super loud, like super obnoxious. Obviously, like we thought they were cool, so whatever. We hop out of the vehicle and we start recording. They were only there for like maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then they left. So I messaged this guy who had his Instagram on the side of his car, and we actually all sent him an Instagram message with a video. I was the only one who was single in my entire group, and obviously I was newly single. I wasn't looking for a relationship or anything like that. Not anything serious anyways, but basically he messages me back that same night. Basically, he said something along the lines of, oh, like, if you think my car is so cool, maybe you should take a ride in it someday. So I was like, oh, okay, like, cool. Yeah, let's go on a ride. So I had ended up going home at this point. It was late. I went to bed, and then I woke up the next morning, and we decided that we were gonna hang out that day. He said that he had to do an oil change on the car with his friends. So I was like, okay, like, cool, just, you know, we can meet back up at the boat ramps whenever, like, you're all done. So me and my best friend, her cousin, same thing. We all go back out to the boat ramps, and we were hanging out. We pretty much thought that this dude wasn't gonna show up, so I was like, whatever, like, it is what it is. Then this whole line of cars come in. They're all like sports cars, and there's the boy. and this is Chance. And he pulls up. My best friend's like, oh my gosh, like go see him, blah, blah, blah. I think I started recording a video of him being like, oh, I see you. And he ended up coming over and hanging out with us. And then I think he went somewhere again with his friends. So then my friend decided that she was going to leave. Same thing with her cousin. So I was like, okay, like that's fine. I'm gonna stay here and just like hang out. So I did. I was hanging out with him for a little while with his friends, I think. Actually, maybe not. Maybe I wasn't hanging out with his friends, but one of his friends was actually somebody that I went to school with, so I already knew one of the friends. My fiance is originally from South Carolina. That's where he was born, but then he moved to Florida, and then he moved up here around the time that he turned 18. When he graduated high school. And so it's just very random that we met at like 1 o'clock in the morning at a boat ramp, of all places. Yeah. Ended up hanging out. I got later in the day and like I was super hungry, so I was like, oh, like I'm gonna go get some food. So he took me to Wendy's and he paid for me. I think I got a 4 for $4 when like 4 4s were a thing. And I think that's what I got, and he ended up paying for it. But he took me on a car ride, and he had to be Mr. Show-Off. So, of course, he has his windows down, his car's super loud, and he ended up, like, going on the highway, and I thought it was cool. But, you know, obviously, could cause a lot of problems. So, I, by no means, condone this. You know, how old was I? I was 19. So I was like, whatever, like, cool, come on, let's go. Like, I'd never been in a cool sports car before. So we go to Wendy's, I get my 4-4, and then we ended up hanging out for the rest of the night up until like, I don't know, maybe like 1, 2 a.m. And we had lived on kind of like opposite sides of the town, but not really. We had lived in Chicopee, and I lived more towards Chicopee Center and like the Springfield area. He had lived more towards like the South Hadley area, so kind of on opposite ends, I guess. And there was a CVS that was open 24 hours. And when I was hanging out with him, this sounds silly, but I was caught hanging out with him by the people that I used to live with. And so they were basically like, either you can come home and quarantine, because they didn't want me sitting in the same car as people because of COVID. And so they were like, well, you can either, you know, come home, quarantine for 14 days, and that's that, and not go out again, or you can find somewhere else to go. Excuse me. Because they had health issues and didn't want to catch COVID, which understandable. So me being me, I was like, well, then I'm just gonna sleep in my car and sleep outside the house. So that's what I was gonna do, but I ended up texting Chance that I was going to go to the 24-hour CVS, which is more near his like apartment, and so that's what I did. He ended up meeting me there, and we went inside, like grabbed some snacks, whatever, and then he was like, oh, you want to like come back to my apartment and watch a movie? So I did. It was like 2, 3 a.m. at this point, so I ended up staying the night. Nothing happened, just simply stayed the night, watched a movie. That was it. He actually had to go to work the next day, but he chose not to. He actually went to urgent care that morning, I think, so he left me in the apartment, which in hindsight you shouldn't do, but I'm not a thief. I wasn't gonna like destroy his apartment or whatever. He did have roommates as well, so I stayed the night, we watched a movie, and ever since that night, we have spent every single night together for almost 3 years now. And that's crazy. We got engaged on Christmas of 2020. So we were only together for about 8 months when he proposed. We're still not married.